back to the Karthus that, again, he pulled out in their last series. RA did take it away in game 1, but he's going to get his hands on that right now. I also really do like the pairing of it with Tristana. We talked about the pairing of it with Renekton last game, but just these lanes that do have all-in and high kill pressure, where you can just combo that Requiem to finish off a kill or set up whichever character is looking for that all-in.
I just love that, you know, the mini meta inside the series. It was Leyan in game 1, now Beichuan in game number 2, and you're right, scaling elements there. Surely for FPX, and what they give over on the other hand, is that engage potential that you're going to need. Alistar, big pick in the LPL, and normally we pair it with something like a Kai'Sa, but it's been banned away.
Yeah, but the Samira is still left open. This is a champion that was banned away from iBoy so often in many weeks. We do know that Tristana is viewed as a, like, quote-unquote counter because you are able to get pressure in the early laning phase. You do scale up better than her. You do match her in the all-ins. You have the ultimate, the buster shot to keep her away from you. But it doesn't matter to iBoy. He still wants to look aggressive, and RA now kind of setting themselves up for more of a snowball than the competition's left for. Oh, the spicy Nocturne brought back once again.
The English viewers are paid forward in advance. You might have missed game 1, man, but game 2 has the Nocturne mid for Doinb, because remember, we've already got a jungler, so this is what they did. I'm not sure if they did this last time, Lyric,
against JDG.
There you go. So run it back, and Doinb's Nocturne was destroying your gal and was bullying him all game long. So good luck to FoFo and see what he can pick into it.
They also have a lot of pressure in side lanes now with this combination, right? Requiem plus the ultimate coming out from the Nocturne. So if they do want to opt into more of a split push option in the top side, that Nuguri will always have pressure. Doinb just leaning into Fog of War, Beichuan wherever he is on the map. Nuguri will always have aggressive options to play with.
Excited to run through this one. If Nuguri goes towards one of those aggressive options, then we're looking at things like the Naba. Usually, that's banned away, as you can see from RA already taken. 2 top lane bans, specifically from FPX. Note that FoFo as well can also play around with the Lucian, usually. Sion gone from Cube, and RA, 1 final ban left remaining. I would say that here, another top laner to take down Nuguri a peg.
The Jayce.
Ooh.
Nope.
Okay, instead we get Rakan.
It's the Rakan.
Engage.
The Jayce is what comes to mind for me. The Camille also open as well. Can lock down people with their Hextech ultimatum, bring Doinb in, follow up with the Beichuan ultimate. I don't expect to see a more passive top lane pick coming out. And then for the side of FPX, I think it'd just be rounding your comp out with an engaged support, because you do need hard engage somewhere in this composition.
I guess that's why the Galio here would fit so nicely, right? Especially for Crisp. In 2019, played this a lot. Excuse me, 2020, of course, last year we saw this in the support role mainly. That means we do have a top lane counter pick for Nuguri to play against RA.
You have a top lane counter pick. You now got some engage that was needed in this composition, and you're only adding another global on top of it. So FPX's composition going to be extremely annoying to play against. On the side of RA, though, they're going to keep indexing into these 5v5 teamfight compositions. I do expect FoFo to lock in the Azir, as he just does. It's a combination we've seen with the Samira quite a bit, where you have both a all-in style coming out from your bot lane, but you still have this hyper carry scaling damage that can play the front to back style really well. Now I'm interested to see where Cube opts into with this, because if he does pick either the Jayce or Camille, which has been highlighted, it actually doesn't matter which side of the matchup Nuguri gets because of the support he gets from the rest of the map.
Yeah, always the threat. It's going to be Karthus ult, it's going to be Doinb and Fog of War, literally is the darkness. Or suddenly Crisp is on a bit of a roam, so he can play quite sparingly, or rather quite aggressively up in that top lane. Nuguri in the past, we've seen things like Fiora, the Camille you talked about, the other side of the matchup. This has been seen more and more in the LPL and will be locked in. So Irelia in the top lane to run against the Jayce.
And this is going to be a very volatile matchup. Cube will have pressure early on. Nuguri can start looking for trades around that level 3 mark if junglers intervene. And then especially at level 6, once Nuguri gets that ultimate cube, obviously on Jayce doesn't have access to anything like that. If he gets the all-in, Nuguri's going to have a lot of chances to look for these all-ins, and then bam, Requiem comes out, FPX pick up the kill, and then you're going to start snowballing the game through that. It's all about side lanes, it's all about pick potential for FPX. If you look over at RA, front to back team fighting, they do also have some poke and siege available from their top side, so team fighting's the name of the game for RA. They do have some options in regards to how they execute these fights.
And I think it's really nice because we have scaling elements on both teams as well, and it does feel like execution, I know a bit of a cop-out, can be a real pivotal part in this game, especially towards the side lanes you mentioned for FPX. I also want to mention that FPX's comp has a lot of dive there, Lyric. A lot of isolated dive too, with people like Irelia, Nocturne, Tristana for resets, Galio there with the simple Justice Punch, all the heroes' entrance. So it does feel like the ability to catch out a rare item in rotation or out of position is there, and something that FPX would play with in the 2019 year.
The thing I like about their comp as well is, even though we talked about, okay, it's about kind of snowballing from early game with your ultimates, side laning, picking people off, it also has very easy access to the backline if they need a team fight, right? Doinb ults onto FoFo, Chris follows in with the ultimate. Again, Beichuan never really needs to be in the fight, but if he is in the midst of things with his E, and then Lwx hitting frontliners, and FPX might have avenues where they're able to take those fights.
We go into game 2, onto the Rift. At the start of this game, you're going to expect how, well, rather, Jayce. Oh, yeah. Look at that. People back in the Shanghai arena, folks. Just remember, we've had a bit of a change-up, of course. Some teams going back to their home arena. We were earlier in, I'm not sure if we're in Suzhou or Hangzhou for LGD versus LNG, but I also know that, you know, I think V5 are back to Shenzhen as well. But here in Hongqiao, this is the arena for people without homes, rather, to build their home in Shanghai. I don't know if that was offensive.
Without home arenas, Hysterics.
Yeah,
without home arenas.
Okay, well, sorry for the misinterpretation, but yeah, that's pretty much the way it is. And we were talking about FPX's comp. You mentioned that RA on the other side, very front to back heavy here, and their ability to have a lot of DPS from Azir, from Samira too, right? So I also like there's a lot of backline access with the Samira in this comp too. So
as well as
it'll be interesting to watch.
Highlighting the Jayce too, right? Because you don't have a very tanky composition on the side of FPX, so Jayce is always going to be getting a lot of mileage out of the lethality that he builds, consistently being able to burst out members for the side of FPX. And then for RA, another silver lining is you actually have lane matchups that do fine early on. Doinb will be able to contest Cryo, just spamming out those cubes, using his passive to keep the wave pushing in. But at the same time, we're going to get to a point where FoFo and Cube can just use their range advantage and start poking down the opposition and giving Leyan room to do things like this, where he can just invade the enemy jungle.
Be a bully and do what we didn't see in game number 1, which is, you know, stop the Karthus from getting ahead, from getting mileage in the jungle, and really just farming up a storm. It's not a split map this time around, it is just a standard clear, while Shielded Red not flashed away from Hung. Rocket Jump interrupted. And Lwx close to getting a kill on this bottom lane duo. iBoy will take a meaty chunk as well, as FPX get the better trade.
Hung still had to burn Flash in the end. FPX will be able to consistently push this wave in, which is going to be nice. We're going to see Beichuan take his red, then probably go towards that bottom half of the map.
Good knockback from Cube. Actually, a better trade for the Jayce, thanks to the hammer that sent him back into the turret.
He also does have a resource advantage by default for Nuguri going for the Doran's Blade and then him opting into the Corrupting Potion. So being able to sustain through this early game, it's going as we expected, where Nuguri is able to look for these aggressive all-ins. I am going to guess that Cube didn't want to contest the wave level 1 with the way junglers were pathing. Didn't want to set himself to be under Nuguri's turret when Nuguri did hit the level 3 mark and Beichuan's being able to follow up. So did let that wave come into him. Could look to possibly set up a bit of a freeze and make life a little bit harder for Nuguri in the top side.
But I do like how Nuguri's playing it so far. With good Irelias, you see the wave set up so that you have the reset to get back out on the Blade Surge, right? Double Blade Surge, backline minion, into Q-stack, auto trade, back away on the third minion wave, third minion in the backline as well. So feels like something really nice to watch in this interaction. In the top lane that you mentioned was a bit volatile. Meanwhile, though, you know, speaking of volatility, Beichuan level 4, and he's like, oh, my camps are gone. Now I need to do something.
And it's, you know, the way to play Karthus, enable your Karthus. We see them using their bot lane file. They are hunting down Leyan. They actually might be able to find him. Does have flash available.
Shielded Duran's going to be the key. Knocks it. Justice Punch. There's the wall of pain. Flashes, but mobility on Leyan is favorite, as Beichuan almost knocks him down. Leyan will have to back off this at the very least, and he goes back to farming the enemy Raptors.
Yeah, getting a lot of mileage out of his runes as well as the flash, you know, the passive on his Q. So does get away. Not too sure I'm a big fan of Beichuan actually blowing flash there. I don't think it would be a secured kill in any circumstance for Karthus going for that, but still, you do get the better end of the trade. You now have information on where Leyan should be going towards top side, but with Beichuan just showing in mid, both teams understand where the enemy team jungler is right now, and lanes are going to how we'd expect. FoFo winning in mid lane. I didn't expect to see Nuguri getting so far ahead in this matchup so early on, but hey, you're a world champion top laner. We shouldn't underestimate you.
10 CS ahead. Vampiric Scepter picked up on this back as well. We'll actually have to burn the TP, and so will Doinb. But we have to look at the next point in this game that will track our eyes, and it will be that level 6 point. Not only for the solo lane potential that Nuguri has with kill threat in the Vanguard's Edge, but Doinb will have paranoia. He's pushing out these waves fast, and as we talked about, influencing some of the side lanes is going to be crucial here for FPX.
And now Leyan understands that Cube is in a lot of potential danger. He has to play on the top side.
Swellseed dodged away from, gets the reset on the Blade Surge, can just dart out here, waiting for the Flawless Duet, but it's way too late. Sweet spot for Leyan and first blood. Onto that world champion top laner.
And remember, this was something that FPX could have expected. They forced Leyan out of his bottom side jungle. They knew he had just farmed his Krugs. They could see that his Raptors were still down. They can expect him to path up towards the top side, but Nuguri's still being caught off guard. The wave was in a neutral state, and he still ends up going down.
Going to be great to see the top lane once again set up for success, but rather Leyan getting first blood onto this Lillia. And what we saw in game 1 was that Leyan got set up early, developed a jungle lead, and must have really taken over on his Karthus pick. This time on the Lillia, of course, going to be different, but it is a recipe for success for Rare Adam as they take control of the gold lead, while the rest of FPX set themselves up for the early dragon at 6 minutes in.
And despite the fact that RA are the ones with the first kill and they are slightly ahead in gold, I think FPX are in a pretty good position. Nuguri's still going to have a lot of onus to dominate this matchup. Already bought the Vampiric Scepter, making his way towards that Blade of the Rune King. Doinb finally being level 6 is going to start being able to proactively make plays on the map. And both Tristana and Karthus have been farming smoothly. Both have CS advantages in their respective matchups. And it feels like we're getting to the time where FPX are going to start being the proactive team on the map.
Doinb now 6, blue buff in hand as well. A lot of clearing coming out from Q, and then the AoE on the, I'm just going to call it Umbral Blades, because I'm pretty sure that's the name of Nocturne's passive. Leyan, meanwhile, though, going for a bit of an invade. Beichuan contesting, but will it be enough? As you can see, Crisp is even coming in as well. And there we go, enemy Predator missile incoming, flashed over the wall. Paranoia used perfectly, but support from Hung was bigger, and Doinb rockets to his death.
Really nice response coming out from Hung with the anticipation and roaming up. Doinb looks for it, gets instantly CC'd down. Hung's not done. Nuguri is pretty far overextended.
This is a fast piece of meat. Nuguri as well misses the Flawless Duet. The flash burn and sent backwards. Nuguri takes a turret shot and Q picks up the kill. Hung just made 2 back-to-back plays in less than a minute.
It was beautiful to see. He flashes in with the Q, then headbutts Nuguri back. Cubes in hammer form. He also knocks Nuguri even further back. So even had Nuguri flashed, he would have definitely been dead in that scenario. And RA, we were asking questions about, hey, RA need to step up. They need to have more convincing wins as we go into this replay. Doinb goes and flashes over the Emperor's Divide. But again, Hung is here to answer. Leyan kites out well. Also had to use his flash. And then Hung's on a mission. He keeps going, runs top. Nuguri quite far overextended, can't get that wave into turret, misses his E, and suddenly we see the flash come out from Hung, suddenly the pulverized, headbutted towards turret, knocked back with the Jayce hammer as well, and it was just all over for the side of FPX. But going back to the point, Hysterics, these are the questions we needed answered, right? We needed more convincing games coming out from RA.
That's right. You know, early game has been successful so far in both of these games. 1,000 gold lead. Leyan with the second objective of the game being the Herald. And now, opportunity for RA to really pace this game out. When you're playing a front-to-back team like this, when you have Azir, Samira, this game pace is so suited right now for RA to continue going forward from here on, right?
And funnily, the funniest thing about all of this, because I completely agree with you, RA in a super good position going forward, is that they haven't been trying to transfer their global pressure from mid to side lanes. They've now looked for the second time to gank around mid lane. I'm guessing they're trying to at least burn FoFo's flash in alleviate pressure from Doinb before he can start moving. But I feel like even just having Beichuan show mid, guaranteeing some prio for Doinb, and then looking to roam off that, you should have easy time looking to dive up in the top side of the map. FoFo doesn't even have TP to answer. So I definitely think FPX should adjust their approach and their focus a little bit.
Because these are the comps that they've played in the past. These are the comps that, for FPX, was pretty stock and standard. Sure, little adaptations here and there, but their ability to push and maneuver with side lanes has always been a speciality of this ex-world champion team. FPX right now, though, sitting in a pretty difficult position. And we can also mention that, you know, Nuguri now 0-2 is in an even harder position, right? This Fiora, this Irelia, Fiora is what I wanted to see, has to pay respect knowing that Leyan has so much priority in this jungle now.
Especially when we looked early on where he was getting a bit of a CS advantage. He was stockpiling items faster, got the early cheater recall off, bought the long sword. Now Cube is even in terms of items and gold. Actually technically ahead if you consider the fact that he also has the tier, which sure is only 300 gold now, but is still on its way stacking up. And Nuguri, knowing all of this, is paying a lot of respect, but maybe not enough.
Fire out in the lane, Flawless Duet so nicely dodged. Vanguard's edge sets up for the 1v2, but Nuguri just doesn't have the damage until Leyan comes in. And you know what? From the skies to trade 1-for-1. Well played from Nuguri to keep it going that long as Doinb's roaming up as well. Beichuan puts out the wall of pain. This time it's going to feel like a COD win streak if he can get on in, but Doinb too far away until he decides to dive anyway. Sets up for the Galio ulti. Underneath turret will kill himself in the end, but Beichuan picks up another kill.
That was a very questionable dive coming out from Doinb. Sure, you would be guaranteed getting the kill with Crisp able to follow in with the ultimate, but his health got so low, he gets taken down as well. FoFo is getting so much free turret plating and minions in the mid lane. And, I mean, this game looks very hard for FPX to be able to come back into. Even looking at the start of that play, Hysterics, Nuguri was, like, kind of respecting that a play could happen. He was waiting at the edge of his brush, but not waiting far enough back to where he can actually be out of harm's way. And we actually have seen every time Nuguri not able to use Flash because he's already in a position where he knows he's for sure dead.
Where there's no point burning it, he'll just waste it anyway. And, you know, we come back after that play. Herald that was in the pocket of Leyan, even though they did lose in the dive, well, rather, traded off in the end. Leyan comes back, puts the Herald down mid, and FoFo was just farming that turret anyway. So now suddenly, this is the trade-off that FPX have to deal with, where Rare Adam's mid lane is 20 CS up, has a lot more gold than Doinb does at this point, and is already close to the one item Azir. That was a close steal, but it is Beichuan who gets it.
And you know, the only shining light for the side of FPX is their bot lane, where they've taken 2 plates. They're doing completely fine in the matchup, even in terms of CS, but again, they've held their own, they've gotten plates, they're finding their own advantages. We see a Kraken Slayer to no Mythic for iBoy, but mid and top especially feel like they're falling so far behind relative to where the matchup should be that, again, I feel like Doinb is quickly not going to be a champion. He's actually just going to be the equivalent of a cannon minion, and even Nuguri not going to be able to find pressure in the sides that he should have been able to.
0-3. Blazer King just picked up with the top laner. Hung and Crisp beating each other, and I'm not actually sure who's bigger in stature, but I think Crisp is meant to be, I think Galio is meant to be about 10,000 feet tall, so he probably wins it out. Bit of a train of thought. That's what's in Hysterics' mind half the time. I want to go across the map just while we are seeing the first lull in this point in the game. Lwx gets out safely. That's okay. We do have the Kraken you mentioned before onto Lwx. Also want to note that Leyan just picked up the Beichuan before Leyan, so there is also an advantage in this jungle thanks to the kills picked up and the shutdown that I believe was picked up onto Cube from Beichuan. So he's actually quite ahead in this jungle. He'll continue farming. He now has 2 dragons to his name as well.
And yeah, that's going to be the point of contention for FPX to win this game, right? To stack those 4 dragons. We do have an Infernal Soul coming onto the Rift. And just FPX doing a nice job of, even if they are losing out so heavily on the top side, at least they are still aware of where their advantages are.
Trying to play towards that top side still. This is back in motion on the board. Too bad headbutt pulverize. RA have the numbers advantage. Shielded Rand is good, but the damage from Lwx not there yet as Requiem once again. iBoy's like, no, save me. And every time Beichuan keeps trading after FPX keep getting caught out.
And now we see the same thing happen that, you know, we saw before for the side of RA. RA dedicate more members down bot. It comes out a 1-for-1. Doinb able to push in mid lane. FoFo missing out on some EXP, but at the same time, Nuguri TP down. Nuguri utilizes TP, he's gonna lose turret in the top side, and it feels like at the end of the day to where that could have potentially been a small edge towards FPX, that it's still neutral. Both teams going to go 1-for-1 in turrets, 1-for-1 in kills, and I'd say EXP and gold miss is probably about even in different places.
Cube level 11 to Nuguri's 10. You know, very good example there. Mid lane as well. FoFo is level 11 to 10 onto Doinb. Has himself a bit of a bounty on his head now as well. And I have to say, you know, Hung's been setting up a lot of these plays for RA. Even though that was FPX backing on a ward, not doing their due diligence, Hung has always been the setup here, and this game has really been about the support.
Hung has definitely been one of the shining lights ever since he came into the roster over Maestro. And Maestro was a player we liked quite a bit. Maestro was a player who, in the words of me in Munchables, has mojo. But, you know, he came in, looked quite well, and I think this year he's looked even better. But I'm going to pause as FPX look like they're trying to bait out a fight.
The thing is, Beichuan, who's been using this ultimate to get those trade-offs, doesn't have it available. Doinb's teleported in as well. He's got a wave to deal with, and looks like RA have pushed them off the Herald. This could develop into a bit of a fight at 3,000, and now 5 members grouped in a tight space. Doinb going into the backline yet again, sets up for the hero's entrance, but that lands only onto Cube. Meanwhile, the Vanguard's edge for Nuguri, there's no follow-up. Hung is dismaying the members, but Leyan taken down, and maybe this distraction tactic has worked out beautifully, as Hung will drop as well. FPX Lwx just gets destroyed by a shock blast to the face. And Rare Atom may trade back, but it is favorable for FPX in the end.
Really nice fight coming out from them. I'm actually surprised that Doinb Nuguri have enough damage to still find their targets and burst them out before they themselves get taken out, because that was pretty much all of them in that fight. We still see the multi-angle setup that we were talking about after draft, where it's like, hey, Nuguri can look for flanks, Doinb can get onto these members that don't have a lot of mobility with this ultimate. And yeah, just a really nice way of playing multiple angles that didn't allow for didn't allow for RA to come out ahead.
Trying to look here in this replay who got the Herald. I think it was actually secured by Leyan, but he got zoned off and he died from Beichuan in the end.
Yeah, and then, you know, we sadly see FPX just going a bit too far forward, and Lwx ends up giving his life in the end. Nice answer coming out from RA, but still, FPX definitely holding all the cards after they were the ones giving up overall the kills in the early game, right? Nuguri was consistently overextending. FPX were going for weird, over-aggressive plays when we think back to that dive that Doinb did in the top side. But hey, you know, they still have confidence that they're the better team, and they're still looking for the proactive plays.
Remember, again, they're still the ones who are heading towards the Infernal Soul, so the fact that they get the kills there over RA, get a bit more gold towards this next fight over the objective, because it does feel like it's going to be a fight, right? With RA's control in this early game. Yes, but who got it? TCL replay. I'm still confused. Is TCL like the... Doinb. But I'm not even sure. Maybe Leyan didn't get it. Maybe that's my mistake, ladies and gentlemen. But at the very least, Doinb was close if it was an FPX pickup. I was going to mention before this next Dragon fight, we are heading towards that 2-item territory. I think the biggest one for me, Lyric, is Cube is 2 items with an almost complete Mura mana. That should be available by the time this Dragon spawns. If Beichuan's alive to see it, almost.
So, for RA to be able to take fights much better than last time, right? I feel like the big problem was that they got engaged on from multiple angles, but if they're only in a situation, let's say in the middle of a lane, not in awkward terrain with jungle choke points, and they can keep most of FPX right in front of them, if Doinb jumps in, you still have enough damage where you can burst him out by himself. You just need to make sure that FPX can't find a flank from Nuguri, an ult from Doinb, Chris following up as well.
Keep the fight in disarray as Beichuan takes one of those shock blasts I'm talking about. The Mirror Mana fully upgraded. And this 2-item Jayce, the poke is so immeasurable as Beichuan is 1 hit away. Smite comes through, Doinb to the backline. That's a 5-man hero's entrance. Turns into 3. The Requiem is a dream, and FPX are just going to win this fight from here. Reset for Lwx, hits away Cube, heals, flashes to fix up his mistake. A 450 gold shutdown, and Rare Atom are absolutely just destroyed. One more hit from FoFo to take away the jungler, but that ain't worth. And FPX will take them all.
And it's just so punishing. We keep seeing the Nocturne ultimate into the Galio follow-up, knocking up. I actually think he only ended up knocking up one member, but he forced the rest of the members of RA back to where now they are separated from Hung. A lot of FPX actually did get quite low, but still, Hung's taken out of the fight. It is now a 5v4 for the side of FPX. They keep charging forward, pick up more kills, get another turret, and it might only be a 1k, 2k gold lead, but the problem is now FPX are on Soul Point, and we've seen that, hey, their comp does have enough tools to where RA can't find the straight front to back that they need.
You can see here, look at this. I'm gonna coin this the paranoid entrance.
Oh, he actually hit
every
two.
single time Crisp is set up.
Yeah, he actually did get a two-man ultimate onto Leyan and FoFo. Hung taken down right away because, again, more importantly, RA is separated from him. And then FPX, despite getting chunked down so low, are still able to just keep running forward with their numbers advantage, follow up. They have things like stopwatches, flashes to keep going. And it was the big boon that FPX needed.
Give themselves a way into this game, right? 2,000 gold lead, Soul Point. 3 minutes 30 until Infernal Soul can be taken by this team. And every single time we get to one of these fights, Beichuan is actually the one benefiting. 5, 2, and 3. 2 items now with Zhonya's Hourglass. And this Karthus, am I looking at a Dark Seal? I am. I can't wait to see if that turns into a Magi's, as all good Karthus players should, as we saw in 2019 and 2018 as well. But that fight win for FPX has now turned the tables. We've got a Baron up as well. And, you know, FPX do that reasonably quickly with a Karthus Tristana. Always a threat from RA as they start losing vision control across this map.
And let's remember that this is our 3rd place team in FPX versus our 5th place team in RA. RA are only 1 series win under FPX. So with the fact of how close they are in the standings, it does feel quite fitting for the series to go to a Game 3.
It would make sense, and it would make all of our English viewers very happy as well, I'm sure. 21 minutes into the game. Keep track of the items, ladies and gentlemen, as we start watching some of the side lanes push out. Teleport for both these top laners as well. That's why you can see the rest of the teams hovering around the Baron entrance for now, and Doinb has set up for the Paranoid entrance once again, but this time it's only the Paranoia. Ends, Hung survives, and for FPX, they thought they found a pick after they force out FoFo's ult.
Luckily, I don't think it's too big of a deal, right? Because you're not going to look for a Baron play at this stage in the game. You're on Soul Point, Dragons up in 2 minutes. You get the resets going. You get back on the map. You already control vision pretty much in all quadrants of the enemy jungle. With the fact that Nuguri has Stride Breaker, I feel like he's back in a position where he does have a lot of 1v1 threat on top of Cube. And with Chris still holding on to his ultimate as well as Beichuan, this is what we were talking about earlier, that, hey, RA can't really look to even slightly trade in these side lanes. Oh, wow.
But Leyan caught out, rocket jump used, and flash is the response. Lwx is a big, small person with 2.5 items in this game. 2, 1, and 5 lyric, 237 CS, and you can see you were dead on about FPX's bottom lane being a big carry condition.
And it's nice to see, because when we saw FPX coming out strong early in the split, that's what we were highlighting. We were being like, hey, Lwx and Crisp especially have been on point. FPX bot lane is performing adequately. And then we saw them start to drop off a little bit, Crisp having some bad series. And then in these last 2, JDG and now against RA, we are seeing Lwx and Crisp pop off once again.
Good to see when 2019 was really their year. I think even they were developing as a bottom lane in 2v2 when we started hyping up Jackie Love more and more after his Worlds victory in 2018.
Hey, I remember Lwx's Lucian. It was amazing to watch. When everyone was playing Kai'Sa and Xayah, he was still consistently pulling out that champion and looking to lane kingdom other people.
Well, hang on, Doinb's just coming for another. Here we go, Paranoid entrance once again. Only a 1-man knockup, but it's zoned away the rest of the team from Hung as Vanguard's edge into the back line. Here comes the Rec Room once again. Hung definitely dead, but it wombos down, and immediately RA is separated from the game as FPX land with 4 remaining.
The damage from Beichuan is absolutely insane. Again, it doesn't even matter if you get the knockup coming out from the Galio ultimate. You are separating the members of RA, then you're still finding the combo to get all this damage coming out. And now FPX are going to take 2 objectives at once.
Beichuan, the new jungler, man. I mean, look, he's playing Karthus, but he's played a bloody good Karthus game. And at 24 minutes, FPX pick up the Baron. FPX will also solo Soul. Nocturne role-playing a bit of jungle right now. And Doinb has enough damage. He's just got this in the bag. That's the two for none special.
Yeah, not able to find anything out of that one. So this game looking done and dusted. We're going to get a replay of this. as there's the paranoia coming out from Doinb. Crisp is following in, and again, one-man knock-up, but Hung is separated once again. Then we see Nuguri finding a really nice flank angle, comboed with the ultimate coming out from Karthus. Everyone is now chunk low. FPX easily able to clean this up and turn it into the 2 objectives that we saw.
We can roleplay Lyric. Standing in front of a bus on a street, your life flashes before your eyes. That's the Karthus ulti every single time right now for RA, and we're going to start looking at how you negate that, right? Like things like Zhonya's hourglasses starting to be respected and prioritized from FoFo and Leyan so that they stay alive, so that they can negate this ulti and actually have more impact in these fights, because every single time they're low, the damage from Beichuan is becoming too much to manage, especially now that he has the Void stuff.
It feels like we're past that state though, Hysterics, right? Even if they pick up the Zhonyas now, I mean, we saw even in that last fight, Nuguri coming in at a different angles, the rest of the members doing a ton of damage. Lwx is big, and even though Doinb isn't really a big damage dealer, that there's just too many different angles for RA to worry about that I don't feel like Zhonyas at this point in the game are going to mean too much, especially with FPX having Infernal Soul on top of that all.
When you have an Infernal Soul, Baron buff in the side lane with a Nocturne and Irelia, look at how this setup is for FPX. Mid lane pushing in, inner turret in the bottom lane goes down. Rotation here from Lwx to match Nuguri and start pushing in this top wave as well. A lot of gold is funneled in off this Baron buff, and as I move my little speaking Hysterics, 3,500 in this Baron play so far. Lilting Lullaby. Meanwhile, Leyan has found a pick. Golden goes the Irelia, set up with the Emperor's Divide, and Nuguri just flashes away into the bait, and Beichuan comes in with a half-L ulti. Well, Lwx flashes on in. iBoy manages to help keep Leyan alive, if only just.
And that was a desperation play coming out. Oh, Q-Force. Oh my God.
Flash in. You know what? He doesn't care if he dies, and he won't anyway. That Dark Seal would have become a Magi's if the game wasn't just about to end here.
From what we've seen when Beichuan gets his champions, this guy is an absolute monster.
They're going in for the final engage, Lyric. We're going to a game 3. RA have just been silenced, and this Karthus pick blew them apart in what was an unstable early game.
This game was just so strange to Hysterics. We see RA coming out in the early game, punishing mistakes. Well, we see, okay, Nuguri's finding a 1v1 advantage. I don't know whether it's Cube from respecting too much or misplaying the matchup, because we didn't actually get a lot of focus into the top lane 1v1. But RA were the team to bring up jungle to influence top lane. They brought up Hung, having that amazing gank early on, and then suddenly it just started all falling apart from that one team fight around Herald where, you know, Doinb ults in, Nuguri comes around on the flank as well. They don't get instantly bursted down. The members of RA aren't all focusing on one target. Their focus is split, and it allows for the rest of the FPX members to come in. And from that point onward, Nuguri was back in the game, and FPX just kept dishing out this damage from this Karthus pick as well.
And when you mentioned that first fight in front of the Herald, at the time of calling it, I thought, oh, this might not be good for FPX. They're split, but that's exactly what they want. You're right. You got 2 members in the Vanguard's edge. You've got Doinb setting up for the hero's entrance to zone. Meanwhile, Beichuan's in the backline. He's just pressing Q as all good Karthus mains do. And Lwx doing the same, using that range we talked about. And it does feel like FPX really nailed down the composition in game 2. That the gold lead, the experience lead that RA accrued didn't matter in the end. And I think that's what we kind of nail as a better team, right? When you can come back from a deficit because you handle your composition's transition points so much better than your opponent.
I do feel like it's hard for us to call FPX a better team when we didn't get to see the way that RA won game 1.
That's true. They could have flip-flopped. Yeah.
They were definitely the better team in this game, but I was actually very surprised when we got that fight that, right, Doinb wasn't far enough behind, or the members of RA didn't just instantly be like, okay, Doinb's ulting in, we instantly focus him down. I don't even think it should necessarily matter if Chris Heroic entrance follows up or not. You'll have numbers advantage after that, and I would think, okay, Cube is now ahead, Lillian's now ahead, FoFo's ahead, that should be enough, but that's not what happened. Again, their attention was split, FPX showing up big. Lwx was, I'd say, I want to use the term quiet in the sense that, right, our observers and a lot of the action wasn't focused around him. Not a lot happened in the bottom lane, but he was silently putting up big numbers and popping off in these team fights. And I mean, that whole game we were just, you know, oogling over the Karthus. I couldn't think of a better word, but
yeah,
we were in love with that Karthus pick. Beichuan was doing a lot, and I'm very interested to see how Beichuan's going to do when he starts getting off of his more comfort picks, right? We've now seen him 2 games on the Karthus. I know he's played the Lillia as well, another AP jungler. Sadly, we didn't really get to see how he did on the Kindred, but how does he do when he has to play more stock and standard, gets on the Udyr, or maybe has to play an Olaf or a Graves, because he's in comfort city right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a break, but when we return,